On January 29th, an Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with American Airlines flight number 5342 near Washington, D.C., killing all 64 people aboard the jet and the entire helicopter crew. Now, we have spent the last couple months just sort of agonizing on what exactly happened, and it turned into a DEI thing and a training thing, and all the things changed in the pathways that in a very busy skyway happening going forward. New York Times published a long, detailed part on the incident, how the details we're getting now on what happened here, and these are some of the excerpts from that thing. So you want to see the full details, go to the article at the New York Times. They're the first one to publish this information, but we now have some answers, but there's still some questions that remain. So for the incident, the helicopter pilots requested and were approved a visual separation, a routine but risky practice where pilots, not controllers, are responsible for avoiding nearby aircraft. The Black Hawk crew failed to properly maintain safe separation, where Captain Lobach did not respond to the co-pilot's warrant officer Eves' repeated instructions to descend or maneuver, leading to the decision that was going on for the captain of the plane and the warrant officer that was flying the helicopter. Crucial communications were stepped on, meaning that they were cut out, preventing the helicopter crew from actually hearing some instructions that were given as the plane was arriving inside of that airspace. The Black Hawk's technology was off. The ADS-B tracking system, which gives them real-time location updates, was actually turned off per Army protocol, which limited the air traffic control's ability to monitor its movements closely. So they couldn't see it, air traffic control, could not actually see where they were and try to intervene before something happened. The controller handling both helicopters and the airplanes were overloaded with duties that night and did not have clear urgent warnings or postponings to detail what would happen in time for the helicopter crew. Everybody was busy, everybody was overworked, nobody was looking at what was really happening in real time. The FAA has long struggled with understaffing at this airport, Ronald Reagan National, and this night on the crash was no exception. One comptroller was working two roles during the staff shortage to make the task even worse. Now, data shows that National Airport averaged one close call per month between helicopters and planes from 2011 to 2024, often involving helicopters who were flying too high, essentially in the space where the planes could actually get them. The controller attempted to do a squeeze play, tightly sequencing aircraft takeoffs and landings, increasing risks during these already complicated operations for the helicopters specifically themselves in this airspace, plus the planes themselves. But the helicopter routes near runway 33 have minimal vertical separation at all, and the landing jets about 75 feet from any jets that are landing. So the mid-air collision risks are very, very, very high on this particular runways. This was a target, a place where things could have happened. The Black Hawk helicopter pilots inconsistently reported their altitude, saying 300 feet versus the actual 400 feet. At the critical moments, violating required limits and creating conflict incoming jets, literally being too high and being in the way of things coming in. Despite a conflict alert sounding in the tower, there were no clear warnings to the Black Hawk helicopter. Last communication and approved visual separation again, seconds before the fatal crash. As we said, communication between the helicopter and the tower were pretty sketchy that night, and this is one thing that came through with that bad communication. Since then, the FAA has restricted helicopter flights on critical routes and is reconsidering the use of visual separation practices at busy airports across the nation, not just in a place just as crazy here. Now, we have heard in various talks and various coverage of this location, Reagan National Airport, which is not the best airport, if you will, people say that, but kept alive, kept open, and kept busy, mostly for people who are coming in and out of town on business trips or members of Congress and staff for the administration, people that work in the White House, people that work for this House and the Senate, going back and forth as a way to get around the other airports. They may actually be bigger, better, and more equipped, but this one, based on where it is and its access, allows people to get in and out of D.C. as quickly as possible with a little less hassle for what it's worth. From that, various agencies are relooking at the roles of Reagan National. Shutting it down would be way too much going forward, but its emphasis and importance may be taken down. As of course, the FAA is looking at restricting things in the air, specifically helicopters, coming into the flight paths going forward. This is the most comprehensive idea we've had going forward. We don't have an official, as far as I can tell, official report from the NTSB or anything like that, but the Times found some answers, given them to folks right here, and on the Sunday night they published it, or Sunday afternoon, to get some clicks, get some people watching for their news coverage going forward. We will see how this thing plays out as more agencies get a chance to basically take this coverage and use it for their own stuff, maybe throw more things onto it, and if we'll get a full report what's going on. Now, what we've seen in a lot of coverage is essentially people are still blaming the woman pilot of the aircraft, of the helicopter. That's kind of what's going on in sort of the right-wing X sphere, Twitter sphere, going back and forth. They're still blaming the female pilot for not being good enough. Many factors went into this one, so let's not just say a female pilot was bad, because all female pilots don't crash into other planes. That's just the honest truth. But right now, we have a better detail, timeline, side by side things that this happened that made this tragedy occur. So let's focus on doing better, learning from this, and not having the same thing happen again, as opposed to blaming folks for something that we can't bring back. Your comments, your thoughts, your input on the timeline, or if you've seen alternate timelines or other things that may not jive with this from various times because of the sources I use, you guys like to say, well, that's lies. CNN lies all the time. Whatever. New York Times produced this. We produced the run through, a summary of the actions going forward. So it's not detailed like the Times article. The Times article was, 20,000 words as far as I can tell. We read through it, pulled the pieces, gave you a rundown of the big pieces, and this is what generally happened. You want to insert things? Go ahead. You want to subtract things? Go ahead. You want to throw in an opinion? That's why we're here. It's a conversation. This is dialogue. We can talk about the crash, talk about DEI and women pilots. We can talk about the actual incident going forward. We can talk about doing better in the future. But we're going to talk about this one now.